All right, 50K ready. We are back. We are going to do a full breakdown of this past weekend over in the Bighorn 100 out in Wyoming, as well as talk training and how things have been going, getting ready. I mean, I think we're less than 9 weeks out from UTMB. Man, it is all fun and games in the winter when you say that you can't wait for summer until it's like 100 degrees outside. And if you are in the Northeast, it is a hot one out there, but I guess it's good for the heat training. I will say, not sponsored. I've been hitting up the Switchback Mango for my electrolytes in the middle of the day. Shout out to Jeremy and Brock. I definitely couldn't do mango for a race because the flavor is bold, but it's like delicious, like midday for like a drink. Lemon lime is still my go-to. Not sponsored, but Jeremy's good people and Brock's good people too. So shout out to Switchback. We are recording this now. I think it is Tuesday. It's Tuesday, June 24th. So shout out to my cousin Tommy Finn. He never listens, but I had like probably, we have these like life altering moments, and I know that can sound dramatic, and I guess just because it was life altering for me doesn't mean it's going to be life altering for you, right? Like we have to put some things into context, and I took a lot of pictures of the views that I saw this past weekend, and somebody was like, yeah, those views are incredible. And I try and like think of things really like stoically and really like from a perspective point of view, I guess. And that statement reminded me that the views that I was seeing from up in the mountains is really just a way to change my perspective on how I live. Because at first, when I would climb mountains, I would look out into the valley and I'd be like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And look at that cliff and look at that glacier and look at these wildflowers. But I'm just going to start the episode off by saying, like, now I see those views and this entire experience that I just had as a whole as a perspective on how lucky I am to be in that one particular place. And I mean, maybe I can just kind of like read without choking up what I said in my Instagram post if the volume doesn't come up. And I know a lot of you read it, so I'm sorry for repeating myself. But I sometimes when I go back and I read some of the things I say, I really mean it, because I try and write these things on Instagram during moments of vulnerability. I try and write them when they happen right in the moment. So I'm getting like that real raw feeling. And this was one of those cases. Although I didn't post the post for a couple of days, I wrote this like in the car on the way back. Excuse me. I said 5 years ago, I was wasting my life away. Like many, I would spend the days listening to the news on repeat about how terrible the world is, which is kind of like apropos to what's going on right now. I believed I was a cog in the wheel of mediocrity. I was a victim of my trauma and life's choices. And I got to say, like, I really believed that. I really believed 5 years ago that it was just Groundhog's Day. And I think I heard Hormozy say once, like, people don't really change. They kind of just live 6 months at a time and then repeat that until they die. And I really was. I was okay with dad bod. I was okay with lazy because I have kids. I was okay with all these other things. I then continue saying, my daughter's 2-year-old eyes and the unconditional love of my wife made me want to change that. More cliche, and I know there's people out there that don't want to have kids. I know there's people there that don't have kids yet, but like, you will be told that you can never love a kid, or that like you don't know what love is until you have a kid, or you don't know what fear is until you have a kid. And shit, that is so true. It really is. And I had tried to be sober and tried to change my life and get back into athletics. I did the Ironmans, but like until I really got punched in the face with the fact that I had a kid that was going to be looking at me, and that was shook by the passing of my father, who was there to remind me like, hey, you are going to be watched. And I have it tattooed on my arm for those of you that are watching on the YouTube. I don't know if you can see, but my dad said to me, like, they are always watching. That was his fatherly advice to me before he passed. He's like, just remember, they are watching. And at the time, too, when he was still here, I was like, blah, blah, blah. But when he passed, and then my daughter was like old enough to be receptive to my feelings, and like I could tell how my attitude was affecting her attitude, things like that. Like I said, I got shook. And because of that, I was really, really blessed. So I continued saying, one small change led to another small change. Self-doubt became self-confidence. Sobriety cleared my mind, controlled my suffering, and brought light to my life. And I've said that I believe that sobriety is and will be my greatest accomplishment ever. I've also said many times that I'm not preaching sobriety for others necessarily. I think we all know deep down inside that a sober life is probably one of the best, but I understand that some people have a quote unquote healthy relationship with alcohol and can have a glass of wine with dinner here and there, and that's totally fine. I don't have that choice. So I'm not like, when I'm around people that drink, they're like, oh, I won't drink. Or is it cool if we go to this bar? Like, yeah, like I've made the choice, and I'm not trying to make that choice for other people, if that makes sense. Now I see the world for the moment that I'm standing in, the people that I stand with, and the path that I want to carve for others to follow. I am not a victim. When I realized that I am not a victim, my life changed. And right now, one of my biggest pet peeves is a victim mentality. Somebody out there has it way worse than you. I promise. There are true victims out there. We are not victims. If you have the means to listen to this, watch this, or have a phone in your hand, you're probably not a victim. But many of us still believe that we are. And we point fingers, and it's tough. Remember, our actions are the votes for the person we want to become. This past weekend, I ran through the Bighorn mountain ranges. Let me start that over. This weekend, I ran through the Bighorn mountain range, miles from others, sipping cold mountain streams. I talked to bison in Yellowstone National Park, climbed the high desert peaks in Utah, sat in awe of the Teton Mountain Range. Ooh, I'm getting choked up. Here it is. And I ate overpriced pizza in Jackson Hole. Shit, that pizza was... It was expensive. Jared paid for it. Thank you, Jared. I appreciate you. Always the first dude to freaking open his wallet and take care of people. All I can think about is how lucky I am and the reasons I shouldn't have been there. But I was. And I was because of the choices and sacrifices that put me here. Most importantly, I surround myself with people who believed in me and who believed that I should be there. And that made me believe in myself. I think if we take the overarching concept of this weekend, and it was a tough one. This, frankly, was the longest time I'd ever been away from my wife. The most nights I've been away from my wife since I met her. And that stress and not having the kids around, like that's part of the sacrifice, because I know that by going to Utah and surrounding myself with people and going up to Wyoming to do Bighorn, I knew that I would become a better person. I would come home to those people that love me unconditionally, and I would be even better for them. Like, that's the give and take of like traveling by myself and doing that. Because so many people are like, you went without your wife. It's like, yes. And she supports that and does things on her own. And like I said, I came back a better person. It wasn't just about the views. It was about the perspective that I gained over that short time. So I flew out to Salt Lake City to link up with Jared, the founder of Recovery Strong, a true legend, and Taylor Spike, who was going to be running the Bighorn 100. We landed, and Taylor had got there earlier than me, and he had joked and said, like, yeah, we're definitely going to get a run in. I'm like, I'm down to run. I figured this dude has a 100 in a couple days. How hard, how far, what could we really, really do? And there were so many red flags leading into this run, hike, scramble, whatever you want to call it. He's like the type of dude that he's old school. He's not one to like have the vest on and carry around water with him and bring a lot of nutrition. So when I saw him grab a flask, I should have known like that I was in there. And I also know that I like to drink a lot of water. So I was like, all right, if he's going to bring one, I'll be the crazy guy and I'll bring my vest and I'll bring two. And we were going to do Mount Olympus. And I think that's kind of considered like northern Salt Lake. It was probably like a half hour north of the airport. And it was a 3.5 mile hike to the top with 4,500 feet. That got us to just about 9,000 feet. Now, for those of you that have been following around for a while, you know that about 8,000 feet is where my brain starts to get fuzzy and I start to get weird. And yeah, also too, because leading back to Javelina, you know this, I like to bring weather, whether it's extreme snow, extreme heat, extreme snowstorms, you name it. I think Salt Lake had near record highs or record highs for this day, and we started late. We probably started like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, hottest part of the day. So we're going up over 1,000 feet per mile at altitude in the heat. You guys remember the SP50 story. All I need to tell you is that Utah just continues to humble me and have my number and just kick the ever-living crap out of me. That's it. That's all I can really say. And I remember after SP50 last June, just being emotionally, like it just took the wind out of my sails. Like it sucked the confidence right out of my life. And I went into this year thinking, wow, I'm so much fitter than I was when I went to SP50. And we climbed and it was tough. And we climbed and it was tough. It got hot. I started deleting water and I'm thinking to myself, where the heck? I keep looking at my watch and we were at like 1,200 feet. Then we were like 1,800 feet. And I felt like we'd been going for a bit. And I'm thinking to myself, did he say 4,000 feet? How on earth do we have 3,000 feet left? And then we came like around a bend. He goes, oh, there's where we're going. He points up and I'm thinking to myself, no effing way, dude. There is no way that I'm going up there with my physical capabilities or the nutrition and water that I have with me. Well, sure enough, 2.5 hours we got up there. The last 500 feet or so was very uncomfortable for me. 3 points of contact, sometimes 4. But I got through that difficult time. I got to the top in about 2.5 hours. We got up there. And the tough thing is, around here, when I'll go on a hike up to the top of a hill, we go up like maybe to 3,000 feet is a big one, but you usually get down faster than you come up. But a lot of this was so technical that like the first 1,000 feet down, I was on my butt, like skidding down and doing dips, and it was just as slow as the way up. And I had no water and it was hot. By the time I got down with that little scramble section where maybe I could start to move, dude, I started locking up. So now we're 3 hours in. We're 90 degrees or more. I've climbed 4,000 feet and I only had a liter of water. I do not know what's going on in my throat today. So it was survival mode. Jumped into survival mode and just grinded it out, shuffled it up. I think we ended up going about 4.5 hours. You can go back and look on Strava. I think it was 4.5 hours. Came out to about 7 miles. I did not think you could run a 10K in 4.5 hours. Shit, I did it. If anybody will do it, I'll do it. And I was beat up. We wanted to go right to dinner. I didn't eat dinner. I ordered and took it home. I tried to call my wife. I couldn't even talk to my daughter. I was so nauseous just from the elevation, the heat, but my 2 weaknesses. But worse was like, I was definitely embarrassed. You know, I told Taylor that I was coming out there fit and that I was going to be ready to pace him in 100. And here I am just dying, coming downhill. And that little bit that embarrassment led to frustration. And it just crushed the confidence a little. I thought to myself, like, what am I doing here? Like these negative self-talks that I'll have every once in a while. But, you know, back to surrounding yourself with people, like they kind of laughed it off of me. And they're like, dude, it's not that serious. Like, it's not that big of a deal. You just got off a plane. You've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. You did not have any like, dude, I was getting, you know, those cramps. If you've ever got a cramp where like, I think Taylor said like, you got one of those cramps where you feel like you're going to feel sore in the morning from it. Like it seizes so hard. Like, dude, I still have in my hip flexors. I'm still sore. Like in my groin. I'm like, what is going on right now? But luckily when it is just dehydration, got home, drank a ton of water. I'm in Utah, so you know I got to have an energy drink, and was finally able to start like eating my burrito bowl that I had gotten. And by the time we went to bed, ready to rock, ready to go. We were getting up pretty early. We had about an 8-hour drive up to Sheridan, Wyoming, and got in the Sprinter van and did that trip. Those guys had seen everything they need to see. I'm in awe like the whole time. I'm like, oh my God, look at that. Holy cow. And I think we got to Sheridan and Jared was like, oh, that drive was the worst drive ever. And probably, like I said, because they'd seen it all. But we got up there midday, like maybe like 2, 3 in the afternoon. Taylor had to check in, get all of his gear. And this is like the first time I realized, and I don't know if Taylor listens, but maybe he'll know now. Like, I fully went into that thinking there's no way that Taylor wants me to run with him. I mean, I was at Crazy Mountain with him, and like other people had ran with him and offered to run with him. I was not one of those people. Like, I just don't put myself on that level of fitness, especially after 2 days earlier. So I was totally okay, like zipping my lips and not even mentioning the word pacer. Like, let's just go crew this thing. Let's have a grand old time, and he's going to smoke it. We get in there, and he's got to sign a waiver, on, as you have to do, and pacers have to sign waivers as well. So we're standing there, and he's filling it out, and he goes to like get ready to get in line and hand it in. He's like, "Where's your waiver?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, you gotta, if you're pacing, you gotta fill out a waiver." And I was like, my stomach dropped. Like, I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I didn't want to be a bitch. So I wasn't going to be like, I don't know, Taylor. So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I'll fill out this form. Yeah, I'll take your little pacer bib. And I'll figure out how I'm going to bail and get out of this later. But I don't want to look like a wimp right now, like we just got here. So fill out the pacer bib. There was like a street festival going on. We went into this cool like cowboy leather store, and Jared showed off his old roping skills, and it was like just, yeah, the wild, wild west for me. Like, Wyoming is just so different. So like, I'm immediately just having the time of my life. It was hot, but I was just, yeah, it was just so good to like be there. I was just excited. We got to the dinner portion. There, like I said, there's a little street festival going on. Taylor is very low maintenance when it comes to like nutrition and race prep. So I think we landed a food truck. I think we got some barbecue. It was mediocre food truck barbecue at a street festival. Like, they close down Main Street every couple weeks, and they do something on Thursday night. So we did that. We stopped by the race briefing for the athlete briefing. Just got a little bit of information that we want to know. And then Jared was generous enough to get us a hotel room for the night. So we went back to the hotel room. I jumped in the pool quick, get my core temperature down, and we got to bed relatively early. I think Taylor went horizontal like 8 p.m., which, another great thing about Bighorn, and I will probably endorse Bighorn a lot throughout this like episode. I don't know if I'll do it, and maybe I'll mention some of those reasons why, but one of the coolest things, or at least cool for me, I know some people hate this, my wife would hate it, it starts at 9 a.m., which allows you to get pretty much the best night of sleep I think you can get going into an ultra. Like, even UTMB starting at 6 p.m., you're like awake the whole day first, which kind of sucks. Like, you're going to fatigue and need nutrition for a full day awake before you even start the race. With this, like, we got up, I think we had crappy hotel egg breakfast. We stopped by the grocery store, got some last minute items, got some ice, filled the cooler, like, just did not feel rushed at all. We had about a 20-minute drive to the start. Got to the start. They were very well organized with parking. There wasn't a lot of parking, but they didn't let people kind of do their own thing, which can turn into a shit show pretty quick. So they got us in, parked, got down to the start. Really cool spot where they started, right along the river on a nice paved road that we would see later. Star Spangled Banner. Got to see some cool people that I see on the internet. The roster runner Dan. Who else we see out there? I saw Garmeyer out there. Met a bunch of dudes from Colorado who were sober. Dude ended up actually winning the race. Shout out, Brett, if you ever get a hold of this. And it was just, yeah, it was a cool start. And boom, they're off. Now, I'm going to make a full video. I had the GoPro, I had the drone, and as a talking head YouTuber, as you can kind of see from the background here, I have another YouTube channel where I'm a talking head. I used to always wonder, like, why does it take these guys like so long to edit these videos? Like, I sit down, I record the video, I edit it, and it's up in 30 minutes. But when you have multiple SD cards and different drones and different lightings, and like you really want to edit it nice and choose music, give me a week or so. I'll try and get the Bighorn video out, and I'll go through, like, if you're listening to this logistically, like wanting to know how to crew it and how the aid stations were, I'll go into a deeper dive in that episode, in that video. But really, there's 3 crewed aid stations that you can go to. One at 13 miles coming in, and then 18 miles going back. The start and the finish are not in the same spot, which confused me a little bit. You have to run past the start to get to the finish line at the end. So yeah, the first aid station is 13 miles out. And like I said, it's an out and back. So 18 miles from the finish on the way back, which turned out to really be 17 miles. Then you can go to pretty much the 50K mark, which is Sally's Footbridge. But the drive to there, awful. So the last aid station you go to is at the turnaround at 50 miles. As a crew or a pacer, you kind of got to make, I think, one of two real decisions. You either got to go from Dry Fork, the first one, and then drive almost 3 hours, four-wheel drive vehicle needed, high clearance vehicle needed, to get to Sally's Footbridge, and then stay there for the 50K, and then the turnaround when they come back and get to you like in the 70s. Because you really, especially if you have a fast runner like Taylor, you can't get from Sally's Footbridge to the turnaround. Like, they'll beat you there. So we decided that we wanted to be at the turnaround. So we had a ton of time. Like, we met up with Taylor at the 13 to 14 mile mark, came through pretty strong, I think in like 33rd place, said it was hot, but feeling good, looking good. And then we drove another, I would say 45 minutes or so. We had lunch, and then we got to the turnaround, which is the Jaws aid station. And from there, we were going to have like 4 or 5 hours to sit and hang and kind of wait for him. There was no tracker, but they did have a timing mat at Sally's Footbridge, and we kind of knew what kind of pace he wanted, which gave us a nice little window. I was able to go for a nice run. I actually did the Jaws trail, which was a really, really awesome trail. It like led down through a valley into like a meadow, and then it's called Jaws because there's these two like random rock formations that shoot up out of the ground. It kind of looks like Jaws kind of jumping out of the water, which was really, really cool. Got to meet some insane people. We had the Recovery Strong Sprinter van, so talked to so many people. It was getting such good press, talking to people about their sobriety. Everyone from, I think, 38 years of sobriety all the way down to a couple months of sobriety, which is just awesome to hear. And it's kind of great to see that, you know, you're not alone on an island. And I think talking about sobriety is the reason why I do it. Like, not to get people to go sober, but to let people know if they want to, need to, or need help with their sobriety, that I'm there as a voice. So that was a really, really awesome piece. Taylor came in at, I think, around 7:30 at night, which was maybe not as fast as I think he wanted to go. It was definitely hot, but I mean, he came in kind of like, I don't know if I can go sub 24 anymore. We still had pretty high hopes. I mean, I've seen Taylor race now a couple times in person, at least once, and know that he's super powerful at night. He's really, really good at night because of his experience. He definitely was going to appreciate it being cooler. He was also going to be coming down from Jaws at 9,000 feet to lower elevation. He lives at like 200 feet, so he's pretty much a sea level guy as well. So definitely that climb up to 9,000 feet probably hit him a little bit. I don't think he lost any places. I think he actually gained places from Dry Fork into the turnaround, but was still just like maybe not meeting his expectations, but definitely was meeting Jared and I's expectations. But just being up there, like seeing snow, doing snow angels, throwing snowballs on videos for my kids, like it was just awesome. And yeah, we were there for Taylor, but this race, I think there was about 260 people that started the 100. It was just a good vibe race, which is another reason why I recommend it. Like the people, it was really awesome. I really didn't get to see like how awesome it was until I was actually in it, but there was still like this cloud over my head that I might have to pace him. And now that he was leaving at 7:30, 8 o'clock, I started doing math, and I'm like, man, now we're looking at like a 3 a.m. or a 4 a.m. start for me. And then it immediately hit me because another weird thing is this was the longest day of the year. So when it got to like 8:45 and we were like kind of getting ready to get out of there, the sun was still up. So you had no concept of how late it was getting, and then also like how far away dinner was. Like we were roughing it. We were living on chips, jerky, and I think cream soda Dr. Peppers. And I said to Jared, like, dude, if I'm going to try and pace, like, I still don't know yet. I still trying to back out. And the whole time he's like, dude, you're not backing out. He's like, you're not, you're doing it. So I'm like, well, if I'm doing it, we got to get some sort of real food in me. We had to go back 40 minutes towards Dayton to try and get to that other aid station for him, but we knew it'd be a while. So like, let's shoot in there, see if we can find a bar. They'll have a burger or something. We get in there at, I think, 9:45. and walk into a place that said pizza on the sign. Record skipped. We were definitely, they knew we weren't locals. But the guy was super cool. He's like, hey, what can I do you for? And we said we were just looking for some pizza. I saw on the sign. He goes, no, we kind of just bought this place. We don't have any pizza here yet. But if you hustle, down the road 5 miles is another bar called the Buckshot. And they make awesome food. I think their kitchen's open till 10, but you got to hustle. And we're like, damn, if we miss this, then we're really screwed. We get in there at 9:55. Place is pretty quiet. Bartender looks at us like, these mother effers definitely want food. We said, hey, is there any chance the kitchen's still open? She gave us like you have 5 minutes to order. Ooh, the dehumidifier just came on. Let me turn that off quick. We're live, people. No, I'm not going to edit it out, so I'm sorry. She goes, you have 5 minutes left, and it better not be steak. I said, hey, we know that we're being an inconvenience. And we kind of explained to her the short story of what was going on. And I was like, just give me a bacon cheeseburger, fries, put it in right now. She's like, okay. She became real cool after that. I knew that I would tip her well. And we got a burger down, and we got out of there at, 10:30. We decided for service to the internet so we could kind of check in when he got to Sally's that we were going to try and stay in town. Another good thing about the race is they let you camp where the shuttle bus is to bring you to the starts of the races. You can drive yourself, but they have buses. And it was at the community center. So we had the Sprinter van. We're like, hey, let's get to there. We can at least, I think it's safe to say, sleep from or lay down from 11 to 3 a.m. We can get up at 3 a.m., see where he is, drive the 45 minutes back to Dry Fork aid station, and we can go from there. So that's what we did. And Jared slept up top on the bed. I slept on the back on the floor. He gave me a sleeping bag. It's like kind of a cushion. I like a firm mattress. It was dope. Alarm went off at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just didn't feel good. And once again, I'm just thinking like, there's no way. Get in there. I'm like, Jared, man, like, I'm so beat up from that climb the other day. He's moving really good now. Like, I don't know. And he's like, stop talking about it. You're doing it. And those are the people that you need in your life. He knew that he knew I was fit enough to do it. And even my wife is like, if Taylor asks you to do it, he knows you're fit enough to do it too. So stop being a bitch and get in there and do it. We got down to the aid station. I got all ready. And as I was getting my socks on and as I was getting ready to get out there, I was really like, okay, like, let's do this. I'm fired up for it. It's going to be awesome. We're going to get this done. And I started to get like excited for the first time. Still nervous, but I was excited. And Taylor came in probably about a half hour later, feeling good. He had some broth. I took off my puffy, ready to rock. I had just like a t-shirt and like a long sleeve. It was probably in the high 40s, but it was like wet because we were at elevation. We were kind of in the cloud in that dew point. I did not need to bring a headlamp. It was pretty much the sun was just coming up where it was light enough to see where I was going. It wasn't great, but I knew we had a little bit of a climb out, so I knew we were going to be going a little bit slow at first. And by the time we got to the end of this little climb that we had, maybe like 500-600 feet, the sun would definitely be up by then, and then we'd be awesome. I'd never paced Taylor before. I knew that he is pretty focused on what he's doing, and I know he generally likes it quiet, but I said to him, like, hey, one of the first things I said, do you want to chat? Like, do you want me to talk? Do you want me to tell you about what we've been doing the last couple of bit, or do you just want it quiet? And his answer was very quiet. And I don't like small talk, and when I run, I want it quiet as well. And I got to be clear, like, I know that Taylor isn't necessarily like I want a pacer or a crew kind of guy. He's old school. I know that there's probably a huge piece of him letting me pace was like him giving me the opportunity to be out there. He never said that, but like he knows I'm new to the sport. He knows I'm from the city. He knows I've never seen stuff like that. I'm sure what I'm saying is like, he didn't need me to pace him. I just didn't want to screw up. I was like, as long as nobody really passes us and we can make a push, I'll be happy. Like, I just don't want to be a liability. And I very much could have been a liability. But we got into it. I got in the flow of it. We didn't really talk that much. I took some videos that I sent to him that he'll probably post over time and came into the first aid station. He had changed his shoes and socks once, which he likes to do. And I know a lot of people that like to do that. Just feet care is very, very important. Came into the first aid station with me at about 5 miles to go. 5 miles into that. And he said, hey, can you hand me a caffeine pill? It was the morning. Now it's probably like 6 o'clock in the morning. He's like, I gave him the caffeine pill. We got going again. There was one little steep pitch, and I knew that it was going to be the hardest part for me. I'm not a climber. I know he is. And he started to pull away. I started thinking to myself, man, if this climb was like 500 feet more, I might not even see this guy again. But got up and over that. And that was like the first time that the sun was up and the view started. And I thought that I would like get my phone out here and there and like take a clip here, take a clip there, take a clip here. I pretty much did not put my GoPro away for the remainder of the last 15 miles or so. Because every time I went to put my GoPro away, we went around another turn and there was just another view that I could not imagine. Or I'd put my GoPro away and we'd drop into a meadow and we'd be on single track running through waist deep like flowers, like wildflowers. And we grinded through that and we moved. That dude maybe walked in the 17 miles I did with him. He maybe walked 100 yards. And those were on like the really, really that steep part of that pitch. And like right before he realized something was in his shoe and he changed his shoes and socks, like we moved. I think our overall pace for the 17 miles I did with him to the close ended up being like a little over 11 minutes. It's freaking fast. And it was just so impressive to watch and to learn. You know, like I was really out there for an education as well. And he wasn't like, you should do this, you should do this. But I was just trying to observe little things that he did that I wouldn't think to do or that I think are foolish. Like if this dude's heart rate spikes, he relaxes and gets it down. If he goes over a stream, he dunks his head in that stream to keep his body cool. He dips that hat. He is constantly eating something. He's always topping off his bottles. Like just little fundamental things. He's always moving forward and shuffling those feet. He never talks negatively. Like maybe in the aid station he'll say to us like, oh, things aren't going well. But in that stretch that we did, it was only positive talk. And it was only like, we are moving and we are moving with intention and purpose. And I think late in a race, like I just don't have that yet. So it was awesome to see a guy that's 80, 90 miles in that's still trying to go faster and not just being like, I'm going to get my buckle for Hard Rock. No big deal. I'll get my my Hard Rock qualifier, my buckle. I'll be good to go. Like, I think it was with about 7 miles to go, we realized that, you know, I saw him start to look at his watch a lot, and I knew 24 hours was a big goal of his. And I had to turn around when I said, you're going to go sub 24. And he's like, we can't negative split the back half. And I was like, I knew that we had this last 5 miles of like slightly downhill, like carriage road type on the way back. And I'm like, if we can move, like we could probably still negative split. And I think we can do it. And with like 5-6 miles to go, I think he started to believe it. We never said anything about it, but you could just feel the pace start to pick up a little bit. And then we got to the road and he started running. And we were doing like 9s or maybe like 9:15s, but then it got down to like 9:10s. And then we dropped below 9s. Then we were in the 8:50s. And I knew how much there was, but he didn't want details like that. He's not a guy, and myself is included, doesn't want to know this far till the aid station or we have this far to go. Like he's like, doesn't matter. We just got to move. So I knew we had 2.5 miles to go, whether he knew or not. I mean, I'm sure on his watch it was getting pretty close to 100. So I'm sure he knew, but I looked at the time of day and I looked and I thought to myself, man, if we can go this pace or better, well, if we can go this pace, we're definitely getting in. If we can go this pace or maybe a little, we can slow down maybe a little. The more we slow down, the tighter we'll get. But like, I just felt like 24 hours, sub 24 was so real. And if frankly, it fired me up. Like, I'm not taking credit, but like, it made me want to run harder. And that was like the first time with like 2 miles to go that I kind of pulled in front of him a little bit, somehow thinking in my brain that I was pulling him along, you know, like I wasn't. He was doing it. He would have done it just fine on his own. But like, it fired me up to think like, all right, I'm going to run hard and we are going to get in and we are going to knock this out. And we did. we hammered, and we got in at 8:52 in the morning. So 23:52, sub 24-hour Hard Rock qualifying race, 18th overall for the kid. Man, he did awesome. And it was one of like the coolest things. I said to him, it was like almost cooler. I think I told him at the time, like just as cool as my 100. Like, it was just so awesome to be a part of. And I've crewed races before, and I paced Ryan back at Jigger Johnson 2 years ago or last summer, which was incredible. It's just, once again, the people piece. Once again, just like not the race, not the 18 miles that I paced, not the views, but like the whole package, the whole experience, and just being around people I never met that I may never even talk to again. But them being a really, really critical part of my life for 24 hours, that's awesome. It's insane. We got done now 9 in the morning. The community center offered showers, so we were able to get a good shower in and stop to grab a bite to eat. And then we kind of had a decision to make. Do we hop in the car and take the 8-hour direct trip home, or do we go 10 hours and go up through Jackson Hole, maybe try and break the trip into 2 drives and maybe stay the night around Jackson Hole, get to see the Grand Tetons, get to see Jackson Hole, and add 2 hours to the trip? Jared was driving, and he was on board. I'd never seen the Tetons before. I'd never been to Jackson Hole. I'm like, I don't have to fly out till 2 o'clock the following day. I'm down. I am so down. So, it had to suck for Taylor. Dude ran a 24-hour race and had to sit in the back of the van. But we got in the car and started trucking towards. We went to Cody, Wyoming, home of the rodeo, and had some Subway sandwiches there. It was like the first non-burger that I'd eaten in a couple days. And then I didn't realize we'd go through Yellowstone. We went through Yellowstone, which I went there last year with my family, and I didn't see East Yellowstone. We stayed in West Yellowstone, so it was kind of cool driving through there and seeing, like, you pretty much go all around West Yellowstone Lake. Got to see those views, and then seeing the Tetons was just like, oh my God. Like, you hear about it. I tried to take pictures. The pictures did it zero justice. And then you think about the people that have, like, it just looks so rugged. And you think about there's like people like Killian that have run to the top of this thing. Or this dude that just did it and just got banned from the park because he cut a trail by a little bit. I don't know the details, so I won't say too much about that. But got into Jackson Hole. Cool little town. A lot of people. A lot of new money. Had some pizza there, and we kind of, like, speaking of the money, looked around, and it was going to be like $1,200 for a hotel. And it was still relatively early. I think it was like maybe 5 p.m. And Jared was like, hey, man, maybe we just make the push to go home. Instead of a $1,200 hotel room that we're just really just going to shower, sleep, and get up. And, like, I was down. I'm like, dude, if you need help, give me a coffee. If you need help, we'll drive. It was getting cooler out, so Taylor could hop up, get a good night's sleep up in the top of the Sprinter van. Well, not a good night, but at least some sleep. And we decided to make the push back to Utah, which we ended up doing. And just such a cool drive from Jackson down into Utah. He was pointing out a bunch of stuff along the route that I don't remember the name of, but it was just such a cool time. And got back to Jared's house. He was, once again, gracious enough to let us stay there. And woke up, got to the airport early. Taylor had an early flight, hopped in an Uber with him. My flight was at 2:30 in the afternoon. Walked into the airport at 9 a.m. and saw there was a 9:59. And I remember looking at that flight on the way home, and I just remember being the first flight out direct to JFK. It was like 3 times as much as the 2:30 flight, which is why I went with the 2:30 flight. But I went to the gate, and I was like, hey, I have a 9:30 flight. Here's my boarding pass. If there is an extra seat on this plane and you could switch me up, I would love it. And she was like, all booked. Everyone's checked in. That's not usually a good sign. But hang out, see what happens. Everyone boarded, like getting ready to close the door. They were looking for one guy. She was on the comm, like, I think his name was like Bernard something. She kept calling him. She kept calling him. And then she kind of like looked at me and she's like, are you Bernard? Or she came over because I had my headphones in. She's thinking maybe I couldn't hear her with the announcements. She comes over. I take my headphone out. She's like, "Are you Bernard?" And I'm like, "No, I'm the guy that was trying to get a seat if there was one available, blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, no." She's like, "Just another minute. But, just waiting for this last passenger. No big deal." Got up, started walking away. And she's like, there was another lady there. She's like, "Actually, Mr. Fink, come here. Come back here." So I turn around. I come back. My stomach drops. She's like, "We'll get you on. This guy's not showing up. We got to go." And she gave me Bernard's seat. And I came to tears. Like, the thought of getting home 6 hours earlier, this was a difference between seeing my kids go to bed, just being home earlier and not having to sit in the airport for another 6 hours after I just sat in the car for 10 hours and I sat in the car for 24 hours before that. Like, I was so emotional. It was like so good. I get on the flight and did the walk of shame because they'd been on the flight for a long time. They probably thought they were waiting for me. I'm like, "I'm not Bernard." But come to realize later, my afternoon flight was delayed or canceled or something. Like, I wouldn't have even gotten home on Sunday. And got home, saw the kids, and just like, it couldn't have been any better. It was a really, really awesome trip. And I learned through pacing, like, I got all that confidence back that I had lost on Olympus. Like, I felt like, all right, I am doing work. Like, not everybody would have been able to pace with him, even at the end of the race. And I was able to do it. And I felt good about it. And I got my nutrition right. And my shoes felt good. And I climbed 7,000 feet for the week. Like, solid. On what was a scheduled pullback week for me. So it was perfect. And now I'm back in New York. It's hot as heck, and we're back to work. We have another awesome weekend planned. If you remember my last episode with Tara, we talked about the Pemi Loop up in the White Mountains. Done with school now. So we are going to go up and do the Pemi Loop, which I won't share too many details. You can go back and listen to that episode with Tara if you want the pre-details. But Tara and I will jump on for the June episode. She likes to hop on once a month. And we'll talk about that adventure, going up with Ryan, his wife. Moondog's going to come with us, Carrie, Tosh, everyone. We're going to go up. We're going to do the Pemi, maybe the Prezi back-to-back, depending on what the weather looks like. 9 weeks out, coming off a rest week. The mileage now is going to be looking more like probably 60, 70 miles. I think more in a time frame. We're looking at 13 to 15 hours per week right now, leading into UTMB, with a minimum of 10,000 feet for the week. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And I pretty much have 2 more blocks or so. I'll do these 3 weeks, pull back. Those 3 weeks, pull back. And then maybe one more big race-specific week. And then we'll jump into taper. And then, boom, it's going to be time to go to France and kick some ass and take some names. I will leave in the description on YouTube of this podcast. If you want to hop in, I got a free Discord chat. We can go in there and we can chat about everything that I'm doing. Follow me on Instagram. If you're just getting this handed to you, Brad Trains. If you've never heard of me before, you can get over and see that. And please keep an eye on YouTube as well over the next couple of days for the video that I will post with both Mount Olympus that we climbed, where I got my ass kicked, as well as the whole weekend and more logistically stuff on how to crew and pace over at Bighorn if you ever want to do that race. The reason that I probably won't do it, even though I really highly recommend it, it's just personal preference. I'm not a big out and back kind of guy. I'm a loop guy. I like loops. So the whole out and back portion, especially knowing I'll be slower with the 50 miler going after, like, I don't want to wrestle back and forth with people going 2 ways and then have to deal with the 50 fast 50 milers passing me the next day when I'm feeling like crap. It was just way too single track for me to feel like I could enjoy that. Also, the weather was essentially perfect for a race that I'd been told is just a mud bog. There was, like, my feet were clean. So I don't want to be tricked into a false sense of security because we had such a good weather year that if it was rainy, cold, windy, it would have been tougher. And I just don't know if that's the suffer that I want right now. But the long story short is I can't make any decisions till after UTMB. I just have no idea where I'm going to be at athletically until after that race. And we don't sign up for Bighorn until, like, maybe, I I think early January, late January, something along those lines. So I'll have some time. And as always, I always want to see if the wife wants to race as well. And if she wants to get a big race in, she's sacrificed for me so much. So the day that she wants to lock in a big 100K, 100 miler, I'm probably going to have to back down my training and lower the distances and stuff so she has time to achieve her goals. But that's it. I do appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. If you're listening to this somewhere, if you're listening to it on Spotify, if you can leave the show a rating, if you're on Apple Music and you can take the time maybe to leave a comment and a rating, that's how these things get pushed to the top. And if you're on YouTube, please leave a comment. I don't care if you like. I don't care even really if you subscribe. But if you want to support me, the best way to do it is to subscribe. But more importantly, leave me a comment. Tell me what's up. Tell me if you've ever done Bighorn. Tell me if you're going to do Bighorn. And I'll catch you guys on the next episode.